Number 10. Camden, New Jersey. There's one American town that has become a cautionary tale. It's Camden. A place where you can stand on the waterfront and see the bright lights of Philadelphia across the river. But the moment you step deeper into town, the tone changes fast. Camden used to be a booming industrial city. Shipbuilding, manufacturing, thousands of stable jobs. But once the factories died, the town didn't just decline. It collapsed. Entire blocks emptied out, properties were abandoned, and crime filled the vacuum. Today, Camden ranks among the most violent places in the country. Walk 2 or 3 blocks off the main road, and you'll notice something immediately. Shuttered stores, boarded windows, and an eerie quiet that never feels truly safe. Locals will tell you, in Camden, you don't walk anywhere alone after dark. And honestly, most people don't walk anywhere at night at all. Despite major policing overhauls, Camden still sees violent crime at a rate that's 4 times the national average. You'll hear gunshots more often than you'll hear a passing train. And here's the wild part. Even police officers admit that there are neighborhoods they're extra cautious in because backup can take time to arrive. The housing situation tells another story. Yes, the median home price sits around $150,000, which sounds affordable until you realize why it's that low. Many homes have been abandoned for years. Some are burned, some gutted, some stripped for copper. You can drive down a street where every house looks like it survived a disaster, except the disaster was decades of poverty and neglect. Unemployment? Still high, around 7%. But longtime residents will tell you the real number feels much worse. Many families rely on part-time or unstable work just to scrape by. And with limited opportunities, the cycle of crime becomes extremely hard to break. But here's the side of Camden most people never talk about. There are strong community pockets trying to rebuild. Block associations, volunteer groups, small businesses trying to push against the current. You'll see murals painted with messages of hope, community centers running late-night programs, and residents determined not to let the town be defined by fear. Still, Camden earns its spot on this list for one simple reason. Even with improvements, it remains one of the most dangerous towns in America, a place where the wrong turn at the wrong time can change everything. Number 9 is Danville, Illinois. Coming in at number 9 is a town that looks quiet from the outside, but the stories coming out of it say otherwise. Danville, Illinois. A small Midwest town with old brick buildings, wide, flat streets, and the kind of faded American charm you'd expect from a place surrounded by farmland. But don't let that peaceful first impression fool you. Danville has one of the highest violent crime rates of any small town in the country. A lot of people don't even know this city exists, and honestly, that's part of what makes the stats so surprising. For a town with under 30,000 people, Danville sees more violent incidents than cities triple its size. Assaults, armed robberies, drug-related violence. It's all far more common here than you'd expect in a place that looks this quiet. And here's what really shocks visitors. You can be standing downtown at noon and everything feels normal, but walk those same streets at night and the atmosphere shifts immediately. Locals will tell you straight up, there are neighborhoods you simply don't go into unless you know somebody who lives there. Outsiders stick out, and people notice fast. The economic picture explains a lot of what's happening. Danville has one of the lowest median home prices in the entire state, around $90,000. At first glance, that sounds like a great deal, but the truth behind it is much darker. Many of the affordable homes are in rough shape, abandoned properties are extremely common, and entire blocks have houses with boarded windows or for sale signs that haven't moved in months. Once upon a time, Danville was a thriving manufacturing town. Factories, warehouses, and blue-collar jobs kept the whole area moving. But when those industries pulled out, they left behind empty buildings, fewer opportunities, and a slow economic decline that the community is still fighting to recover from. Unemployment typically sits around 6 to 7%, but the real problem is underemployment. People are working, but often in part-time positions, low-wage service jobs, or unstable seasonal employment. And when a town is struggling to stay afloat financially, crime tends to follow the cracks. But beneath all that, Danville does have resilience. You'll find community events, family-owned diners, and local groups trying hard to bring life back into the town. People here take pride in their community, even when the numbers paint a rough picture. You'll see murals downtown, restored theaters, and residents who refuse to give up on the place they've grown up in. Still, Danville makes this list for a reason. The crime rate is simply too high, the decline too deep, and the danger too real for a town this small. That's why Danville, Illinois ranks as the 9th most dangerous town in America, a place where the peaceful look of the Midwest doesn't match the reality once the sun goes down.
At number 8, we have a town that's basically the poster child for American struggle and American toughness. Flint, Michigan. A place where you can feel the history before you even park the car. Old factories, empty lots, and entire blocks that look like they're holding on to life by a single nail. Most people know Flint because of the water crisis, but that's only one chapter in a much bigger story. This city used to be booming, factories running 24/7, families making good money, neighborhoods full of life. But when the auto industry left, Flint didn't stumble, it dropped straight through the floor. Crime rose fast, violence rose faster, and the city never fully recovered. The atmosphere is strange here. You can walk downtown at noon and everything feels fine. Art murals, community events, people grabbing coffee. But there are neighborhoods where the silence hits different. Streets where every boarded window tells a story nobody wants to talk about. And the houses? Let's just say Flint has some of the cheapest real estate in the country. Prices so low you'd think you misread the decimal point. But cheap doesn't mean safe. Some blocks look abandoned, some look dangerous, and some look both. Even with all that, Flint has heart. Locals refuse to give up on their city. Volunteers rebuild parks. Churches feed entire neighborhoods. Artists paint hope onto crumbling walls. Flint takes number 8 because it's a place with courage and danger standing side by side.
Number 7 is the kind of town where even Siri sounds nervous when giving directions. Pine Bluff, Arkansas. If you've never heard of this town, don't worry, most people outside the South haven't. But ask anyone from Arkansas, and they'll give you the same look, that slow head shake that says, yeah, Pine Bluff is different. This town has been struggling for decades. Back in the day, Pine Bluff had factories, mills, rail jobs, solid blue-collar work that kept the community moving. You could graduate high school, walk into a job, and build a life. But when industry packed up and left, Pine Bluff didn't just dip, it sank, and the town has been trying to come back ever since. Today, Pine Bluff has a reputation that spreads far beyond its size. Crime here isn't a rumor, it's a routine. People talk about nightly gunshots the way you and I talk about weather. Some streets go quiet not because they're safe, but because nobody wants to be outside long enough to make noise. Drive in from the highway and you see the signs of decline right away. Boarded up shops, old gas stations with faded signs, houses that lean like they've given up, lawns overgrown, windows cracked, buildings that look like they've been waiting for repairs that never came. And then there are the stray dogs. Pine Bluff has more stray animals than some cities have residents. They wander the streets like they own the place, because honestly, half the time they kinda do. Talk to locals though, and here's the twist. They're some of the friendliest people you'll ever meet. Southern hospitality doesn't die, it just adapts. People here care about their neighbors, they look out for one another. And if you're from Pine Bluff, you defend Pine Bluff. even if you know exactly how rough it is. But ask those same locals where you should avoid after dark, they won't hesitate. They'll point to entire neighborhoods and say, "Don't be there. And if you have to be there, don't stop your car." The most dangerous part about Pine Bluff isn't that it's violent, it's that the violence feels normal. That's when you know a town is struggling, when danger becomes just another Tuesday. Still, there's hope. Community groups are fighting back, new businesses try to break through. The people who love the town want it to rise again. But today, Pine Bluff ranks number 7, a small town with a big crime problem, a long history of hardship, and a community doing everything it can to hold on.
At number 6, we're heading to California, but don't let the sunshine fool you. Stockton is one of the most confusing cities in America. You arrive thinking you're getting classic California vibes: palm trees, waterfront views, great food, warm weather, and for the first 5 minutes, that's exactly what you get. But then you drive a little farther, and suddenly the entire mood flips like someone changed the channel. This place has layers, and not the good kind like a cake, more like an onion that makes you cry when you see the crime reports. For years, Stockton has battled gangs, homelessness, drugs, and poverty. And while there have been improvements, the danger hasn't disappeared, it just moves around. Locals will straight up tell you, if you don't know where you're going, don't start exploring like it's a tourist scavenger hunt. Because Stockton has areas where one street feels perfectly normal: families outside, kids playing basketball, truck foods on the corner, and the next street feels like the opening scene of a crime documentary. And here's the kicker: Stockton is not cheap. You don't move here because it's affordable. You move because you already live here or you've run out of options. Housing is expensive, the cost of living keeps rising, and yet the crime rate stays stubbornly high. It's like paying for beachfront property and getting a horror movie neighborhood instead. But Stockton isn't just danger, it's also culture. It has one of the most diverse populations in California: Filipino, Mexican, Cambodian, black, white, everyone's here. You get food you can't find anywhere else, community festivals, farmers markets, and that classic California warmth from the people who call this place home. And that's what makes Stockton so unique. It's a city that refuses to quit. Even with challenges, residents push forward. Kids go to school, stores stay open, people build lives here, even with the noise of police sirens acting as the unofficial city soundtrack. Some nights the radio chatter never stops, some neighborhoods still feel unpredictable, and everyone knows which areas you avoid after dark. Even the GPS sounds nervous routing you through them. Stockton is fighting. It's improving, but it's still dangerous, one of the most unpredictable cities in the Golden State. That's why Stockton sits at number 6. Not the California dream, but the California be careful.
Cracking into the top 5 is a city where the music is smooth, the barbecue is legendary, and the crime rate is absolutely not messing around. Memphis, Tennessee is one of those American cities that hits you with personality before you even finish parking your car. You step out, and suddenly you're surrounded by history, real history, the kind that shaped American music, American culture, and honestly, some of the greatest songs ever made. Walk down Beale Street, and it feels like the pavement itself is humming. Blues guitars echo from open doors. Neon signs flicker in that vintage, slightly chaotic way that makes everything feel alive. And the smell, oh, the smell. World-class barbecue drifting through the air like it's personally inviting you to dinner. But Memphis is a city with 2 moods, and once you drift away from the tourist-friendly glow of downtown, that second mood shows up fast. The shift is subtle at first. A little less foot traffic, a few buildings with bars on the windows, maybe a corner store with a sign that politely suggests you do not loiter. Then someone local gives you the look, you know the one, the universal expression for "you're not from around here, and you probably shouldn't be walking that direction." because Memphis has neighborhoods that even lifelong residents avoid, and they're very honest about it. Ask a local, "Is this area safe?" and they won't give you a complicated answer. They'll just say something like, "Safe? Well, it's Memphis. Depends on the hour." They're joking, but they're not really joking. Crime in Memphis is one of those things that's always simmering, and sometimes boiling. Gun violence, carjackings, break-ins, not occasional events, but weekly headlines. There are parts of the city where people triple lock their doors, not because they're paranoid, but because that's just how you live here. You don't take chances. And the wildest part? Memphis is passionate. The people here love this city with a kind of intensity that most places only wish they had. It's loyalty, pride, and personality all rolled into one. If you talk bad about Memphis, a Memphis local will correct you and probably buy you a barbecue plate afterward just so you understand why the city is worth defending. And they're right, there's a lot of good here. Some neighborhoods are growing fast, rebuilt from the ground up with new shops, coffee houses, restaurants, renovated homes, all buzzing with young energy. You'll see street murals, farmers markets, families out on walks, real signs of hope. But Memphis is also unpredictable. One block is completely revitalized. A block away feels like the city forgot it existed. It's one of the few places where you can go from eating the best meal of your life to thinking, okay, maybe we should head back to the car now, in less than 2 minutes of walking. That contrast is what defines Memphis more than anything else. The highs are very high. The music, the culture, the food, the atmosphere. In the lows, they hit hard. Crime isn't just a statistic here, it's part of the city's identity, a challenge that's been deeply rooted for decades and doesn't disappear overnight. But here's the thing nobody tells you. Memphis has more heart than almost any city on this list. People look out for each other. Neighborhoods defend their own. Community groups work every day to pull the city forward, inch by inch, block by block. Still, that doesn't erase the danger. It doesn't erase the reality that Memphis, as iconic and beloved as it is, still ranks in the top 5 for a reason. So yes, Memphis is unforgettable, it's flavorful, it's soulful, it's alive, and it will charm you if you let it. But stray too far in the wrong direction, the city changes fast. That's why Memphis lands firmly at number 5, a place with world-class culture, unmatched character, and a crime rate that doesn't care if you came for the ribs or the blues. Number 4. Welcome to Birmingham, Alabama, a city that feels like 2 stories happening at the exact same time. On one hand, Birmingham is rich with civil rights history, museums, landmarks, churches. This is where some of America's most important moments were born. The city has culture, tradition, Southern charm, and some of the best food you'll ever touch in your life. But then comes the other side of Birmingham, the one tourists don't see on postcards. For years, the city has wrestled with violent crime. Not the kind that happens once in a while, the kind that becomes part of everyday life. Locals talk about certain neighborhoods like they're different planets. You don't go there, you don't stop there, you definitely don't drive through there after dark. Some areas look like they're bouncing back. New apartments, busy shops, young families moving in. You feel the city trying, pushing, rebuilding. But other areas, they look frozen in time. Boarded-up houses, streets with nobody outside, blocks that go completely silent at night because everyone knows silence is safer than attention. Police say the problems are complex. Poverty, lack of opportunity, old conflicts, and generational issues that don't disappear overnight. People here grow up tough because they have to. And most residents love their city fiercely. They just wish it loved them back a little more. Still, Birmingham has bright spots that shine like crazy. Sports, festivals, barbecue, music. It's a city with personality and community. A place where people will invite you in, feed you like family, and make you feel welcome, as long as you don't wander into the wrong neighborhood by accident. That's why Birmingham lands at number 4, a city of history, heart, and high crime, all tangled together in one complicated Southern story. At number 3, we're heading back to Michigan. the state that apparently collects dangerous towns like baseball cards. Saginaw, a small city with a massive reputation. Just like Flint and Detroit, it took a heavy hit when manufacturing collapsed. Factories shut down, jobs vanished, families moved out, and entire neighborhoods turned into empty shells of what they once were. And the thing about Saginaw, you can feel the decline as you drive through. Old buildings, cracked sidewalks, houses that look like they haven't been lived in years. It's the kind of place where every abandoned property tells a story nobody wants to read. Crime here has been a problem for a long time. Shootings, robberies, drug activity, not rare, not shocking, just expected. Locals know the unsafe zones by heart. They know when to stay inside. They know which streets you don't walk at night unless you want problems. But here's what makes Saginaw special. The people who stayed are fighters. They love their city. They refuse to give up. You'll see community events at parks, block cleanups, neighborhood barbecues, people doing everything they can to bring the city back. And honestly, they've made progress. Some areas are safer. Some businesses have returned. Some neighborhoods are rebuilding. But the danger still hangs over the city like a storm cloud that doesn't know when to leave. Saginaw ranks number 3. Small town, big danger, even bigger determination.
Number 2, St. Louis, Missouri. Runner-up for most dangerous town in America. A place where the arch is tall, but the crime statistics are taller. St. Louis is one of the strangest, most fascinating cities in the entire country. On the surface, it has everything. An incredible zoo, legendary sports culture, world-class museums, amazing barbecue, the iconic Gateway Arch. It should be a city everyone wants to visit. But drive 10 minutes in the wrong direction, and St. Louis becomes a completely different reality. This is a city of extremes. One block feels like a postcard, polished neighborhoods, renovated homes, craft breweries, families walking dogs, kids playing in the yard. Then you turn a corner, and suddenly you're in an area that looks abandoned by time. Boarded windows, burned houses, overgrown lots, and streets so empty they feel haunted. Locals will tell you the same thing. In St. Louis, safety depends on which side of the street you're standing on. Crime in this city isn't a recent problem, it's generational. Poverty, segregation, failed redevelopment, and decades of economic struggle created pockets of the city where violence has become part of daily life. Shootings aren't rare. They happen so often that news anchors barely change their tone anymore. Robberies, carjackings, break-ins, it's all too common. And the wild part, people from St. Louis absolutely love St. Louis. They'll talk your ear off about their favorite barbecue spot, their favorite baseball moment, their neighborhood traditions, their local bars. They have pride that borders on ferocious loyalty. But even the most dedicated locals will warn you, don't stop at certain red lights after midnight. And they mean it. Still, St. Louis has heart. Neighborhoods come together, festivals never stop, music, art, sports, they're all woven deeply into the city's identity. This is a place with culture, history, and soul, even if some areas are struggling. But the crime, you can't ignore it. Not when the city repeatedly lands at the top of national rankings for violence, year after year. St. Louis is a paradox, vibrant and broken, thriving and dangerous, proud and troubled all at once.
And finally, the number 1 most dangerous town in America, Detroit. A city that shaped music, cars, culture, and then suffered one of the biggest economic collapses in U.S. history. Detroit once symbolized American success, Motown music, massive factories, a booming middle class. But when the auto industry crumbled, Detroit fell hard and fast. Entire neighborhoods emptied out, families left, businesses closed, factories went silent. Houses were abandoned so quickly the city couldn't board them up fast enough. Drive through parts of Detroit and you'll see rows of vacant homes, empty skyscrapers, streets overtaken by weeds, blocks where only 1 or 2 houses still have lights on. And with abandonment came crime. Shootings, break-ins, car thefts. It became part of daily life in certain areas. For years, Detroit had neighborhoods that looked post-apocalyptic, except the danger wasn't from zombies, it was from real people struggling to survive. But don't get it twisted, Detroit also has heart, massive heart. Downtown is revived, new restaurants, new apartments, new sports arenas, artists moved in, businesses returned. You can see signs of rebirth everywhere. Yet the rough areas, still rough, still dangerous, still unpredictable. Detroit is a city of survivors, strong, proud, and determined, but it's also the most dangerous major city in America. Detroit ranks number 1, a legend, a comeback story, and a warning all at once.